the existence of the entire universe and all forms of life, and before whom every person will appear on the great day of judgment. We're delighted to come into his presence with praise and thanksgiving. We receive with all of the warmth that we have all who have come to worship today, especially our guests. We're delighted to see Brother John Jeter to have him here with us today, and all of the others who are here, Yolanda, Holly, whatever. Start to say names, but I'm going to hold that anyway. Good to have Yolanda still here, and other guests that we might have present here today. I want to thank Brother Roger Gray for assuming the preaching responsibilities, last Sunday evening. Has always manifested a spirit of service and helpfulness, and is a blessing to the entire congregation, as well as a blessing to me personally. I thank God for him. Had the opportunity last week to go down to Southwestern Christian College and attend the annual lectureship. I had planned 3 consecutive years, and something came up at the last moment and I had to cancel. So it was good to again visit the campus and to be a part, to attend the lectureship. The lectures were focused upon the book of Esther. The theme was for such a time as this. Of course, the speakers covered the experiences of Mordecai, Ruth, and the others. Lord willing, I will share some of the highlights of the lectureship at a later time. Southwestern Christian College is in a state of transition at the moment. For a half century, Dr. Jack Evans was leading the college. He was very dedicated to his task. Dr. Irving Seamster is the new president of Southwestern Christian College. He's well qualified educator and is now seeking to lead the college on to greater heights. He has some very ambitious plans for the school that will require the dedication of a new group of people in our brotherhood. All of the old people of my generation are rapidly disappearing. Our children have chosen their vocations. And now we're down to our grandchildren who are reaching college age. We have some people who don't necessarily have any particular connection or affinity with Southwestern Christian College. These are some of the individuals, if the school is to survive, these are some of the people who are going to have a new interest and make a sacrifice for Southwestern Christian College. I'll share some thoughts about that at a later time, the Lord willing. But we want to play our part in the survival of this institution. There was a time when the other institutions were not open to people of color. Now, all of the other institutions, Lipscomb, Pepperdine, Oklahoma, Christian, all of these institutions now have their doors open. Southwestern came into existence during these times when there was no institution of higher learning from the perspective of the Church of Christ. For those who were seeking to be leaders in the church, the question has arisen: do we now need Southwestern? Does it still play a critical role in the quote black church? And we know there's really no such thing as the black church, or the white church, or that. It's really just a church, just for that we might understand it. We want the school to survive because it really plays a great part in training leaders for the church. Was principally interested in ministerial students and those who wanted to be elders and deacons in the church, although it was a liberal arts college. That's where I met my wife. They were very serious about the scriptures, the Bible. And I was telling somebody in Old Testament survey, one of the requirements of passing that course was that you had to quote 100 scriptures verbatim. Couldn't miss a word. You had you had 4 meetings each time, 25 scriptures at a time. You had to do that in order to get out of that course. This applied to the girls as well as the boys, the brothers as well as the sisters. And so I think Bev always got hers to finish before I got mine finished. But I'm saying they were very serious about that. Some of the cultural aspects of the so-called black church, I believe it still has a place in our lives, not that we should have any racial prejudices or anything of that particular nature. But I'll share some other thoughts about that a little later on, Lord willing. But I want to call your attention to the 12th chapter of the book of Romans, verses 1 and 2. Therefore, I urge you, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies a living and holy sacrifice, acceptable to God, which is your spiritual service of worship. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove what the will of God is, that which is good and acceptable and perfect. Transformation. My objective today is really not to use this text and to try to build a sermon, but I want to attempt to exegete the passage. We say that we have exegesis and eisegesis. Exegesis is when you study a passage and get out of the passage what is in the passage, the meaning. And eisegesis is when you read into the passage that what you want it to say, but that which it might not say at all. And so sometimes we think that a passage is saying one thing when it is actually saying another. Sometimes we do not get the full impact of the message that the writer is seeking to deliver. And so today I'm not really trying to preach a sermon. I'm really trying to exegete a passage so that we might understand just what the notion, the idea, the concept that the Apostle Paul was seeking to communicate to the Christians at Rome. The challenge put before Christians is that of seeking to change lives, to persuade people to abandon false ideas, false philosophies, and sinful behavior, and to follow the way of God, Christ, and the Holy Spirit, and to show the world a better way of living. The task of the Christian is to help people recognize what is true and lasting and what has value that extends beyond this earthly realm. In short, the goal of the Christian is to persuade the world to conform to the way of Christ. But in doing so, the Christian must be mindful of the fact that the goal of the world is to influence the Christian
to conform to its ways and its way of thinking. So, the Apostle Paul reminds the Christians that just as they are trying to change the world is seeking to change them. And so he says, do not be conformed to this world. Do not let this world press you into its mold. But before getting to this point, Paul called the Roman Christians to a life of true commitment and service. He says, I therefore urge you, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies a living and holy sacrifice to God, which is your spiritual service of worship. He says, I am making this plea on the basis of the mercy and compassion of God. That is, God is a passionate, compassionate God. He takes into account that human beings are flawed creatures. He knows that we have growing to do. He knows that we are sometimes foolish. He knows that we are guilty of offenses. And he knows that we sometimes stumble and fall. But because he has the compassion of a father, it is not difficult for him to withhold the punishment that we deserve. He puts his arms around us when we are of a humble and contrite heart. He puts his arms around us, and he puts a ring on our finger when we have gone out and spent all that we had on riotous living. He throws a welcome party when we come home in shame and weariness. He restores us when we come to ourselves and realize that we do not have to envy the swine, but can feast at the Master's table. God is a God of mercy. He gives us what we need instead of what we deserve. Paul says, with God's mercy in mind, I urge you to present your bodies a living and holy sacrifice to God. He is saying, give God the self. Give up your rights to yourself and let God use you as he will. If you want to render spiritual service of worship, present yourself as a living sacrifice. It matters little if you give your money and your time and your talent to him. If you are unwilling to give yourself to it, to live for him, to make him your priority, to become his slave and his servant, and to do his will, what God wants you to do. You see, that's necessary because we don't make good servants as long as we are doing what we want to do. That was the problem with Jonah. When God told him to go and preach the gospel, preach the word to the Ninevites, that they might repent and be saved. They were merciless, mean, cruel people. And Jonah did not want them to be saved. God wanted them to be saved. But Jonah didn't want them to be saved. So what did he do? He took out in the opposite direction, thinking that he was escaping from God. He was into his own will instead of being into the will of God. God says, present your bodies a living sacrifice. Turn yourself in and over to God. And so many professed Christians have not made that presentation. He says, present yourself. God not only wants yours, but he wants you. He says, present your bodies. Now, the Apostle Paul then comes to the conformity issue. He says, and be not conformed to this world. Another translation says, do not let the world press you into its mold. And this word, conform, is translated from a Greek term which means to fashion alike. The same pattern, to fashion oneself according to. World comes from the Greek ion and means age or times. Since the Christian's objective is to change the world, Paul says, don't let the world change you while you are trying to change it. The world has a mold, that is, it thinks in a certain way. And what is that way?
material things are more important than spiritual things. That's the way the world thinks. Pleasure is more important than discipline. This world is more important than the world to come. There's little or no practical value in spiritual things. This is how the world thinks and behaves. If something does not have market value, so he says, don't let the world influence you to think in this fashion. God says, the things which are not seen are eternal. 2 Corinthians 4:18. God says that love is important. 1 Corinthians 13. God says that truthfulness is important. Ephesians 4:25. God says that kindness, tender-heartedness, and forgiveness have their value in his sight. Ephesians 4:32. The Christian is seeking to persuade the world to think in this fashion, to obey God and honor his authority, to let God tell it how to live and behave. At the same time, the world is seeking to persuade the Christians to think their way, to conform to its mode, to devalue spirituality, to trust only what can be seen and handled and bought, to live for self, to follow the path of instant gratification. So the Christian is trying to change the world when the world is trying to change Christians. So keep in mind that the world is trying to do something to you while you are trying to do something to it. I'm not an avid boxing fan, but every now and then when I'm strolling around, I come across a boxing match. Sometimes I get stuck there for a few rounds. I get stuck there for a few rounds. But I learned, I don't know much about the technique of boxing. But I do know something about boxing. Is that a boxer will not last long in the ring if he does not understand what he is trying to do to his opponent. His opponent is also trying to do to him. When you swing, you can expect something back. It's not that the person is just going to stand up there and let you knock him out. So he's trying to knock you out at the same time. It's like that in the world. So the world is not just going to stand there and take what the Christian gives. The world is trying to pull the Christian over the same as the Christian is seeking to pull the world over to the side of Christ. The Christian is seeking to persuade the world to think in the fashion of truth and love and faithfulness, to let God tell it how to live and behave. At the same time, the world is seeking to persuade the Christians Christian is trying to change the world. And the world is trying to change the Christian. How can the Christian combat the pressure to conform to the ways and thinking of the world? Paul submits transformation as the way to avoid being pressed into the mold of the world. He says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Here's a concept that I don't think a lot of people have internalized. Transform comes from a Greek term meaning change. Transformation, to be transformed, is to be changed from the pursuit of worldly ends. To let God's word define life for you. To let God's word tell you how to think, what to admire, what to love, what to hate, what to abandon, what to value. And he says, let the mind be transformed by the renewing of your mind. He says transformation involves your mind, your thinking. He says the mind has to be renewed. And what does that mean? Renewed comes from a Greek term which means renovated, reconstructed. He says, let the mind be renovated by a radical change in how life is viewed. Life seen through the eyes of God. That you're going to be transformed by the renewing of your mind, because your mind is going to begin to see life through the eyes of God. And you are taking the position of God. Your goal is to think like God. That's a revolution within the self. Let the mind be renewed. Says all of the ideas that you have had prior to this time about what life is, about what is valuable, about what is good, these ideas that you have had, so they all have been caught up and swept up by the life and the view of God. You have a different mind. So your mind has been renovated. Your mind has been reconstructed. You didn't see any value before now into things that you can't see. Said, but when you had it, when your mind was renewed, said you could see the value in the unseen. You thought that material things were the essence of life. But now that you have had your encounter with God and your mind has been reconstructed, you can see now that there are some things that are more important
that money and property and pleasure and pleasing yourself says you're beginning to do things God's way. Your mind has been renovated. But since your mind has been renovated, there's a discovery that comes through that. He says, something has been proven. Says that you may prove when you do this, when you turn yourself over to God and let God control your life, he says, you prove what the will of God is. Not to the world, but to yourself. Says you prove that the will of God is, number one, that it's good. Good for your life. Good for your health. Good for your perspective. Good for your stability. Good for the direction in your life. He says, you see that. You can't feel that. You can't know that until you experience it. You can't stand on the outside and know this. You prove it to yourself by turning yourself over to God and letting God. It says, if you'll see that the will of God is good, that the will of God is acceptable, and that the will of God is perfect. That's what happens when you go through this period, go through this exercise of transformation, of giving yourself over completely to God. You find that God's word is perfect. It's complete. It's enough. It's adequate. It's adequate for your life. It applies to every area of your behavior. No matter what environment you're in, you'll find that the word of God is perfect. It'll make you a mature person. It will make you a grown person. It will make you see life as it really is. So, what the Apostle Paul called the Romans to is not some momentary excitement. It's not shouting, although shouting is a part of it. He's calling them to make a deliberate decision to let God control their life and to see exactly what God can do for them. So there's a presentation. And that presentation is yourself. So you have to present yourself as a living sacrifice. God wants you to turn yourself over to Him to do His will. That God wants you, God wants us all to be transformed, changed. And the only way this can take place is by the renewing of our minds. Something has to happen to the mind, to the way we think. It says when we go through that experience, when we give ourselves over to God, if we'll prove to ourselves what God's will is, what is God's will, He says it's good. He says it's adequate, and it's acceptable, and it fulfills the need for your life. I think we ought to ask ourselves, have we done this? Is that what we have done? Or is that what we are seeking to do?
That's what Paul was seeking to communicate to the Romans. The first 11 chapters of the book of Romans are what we call preliminary. They had this controversy going on about the law of Moses and faith, about works and faith. And Paul used the first 11 chapters to present his argument that we're not saved by works, but we're saved by faith. By faith in God. And so this was the divide, the controversy, the argument that was going on. Can a person be saved by the works of the law or by faith in Jesus? And Paul used 11 chapters to develop the idea that we're really saved by faith in Jesus. But then when he got to the 12th chapter, he says, now, here's where you come in.
Okay.
See, there's something Christ has done a great deed for members of the human family. He went to the cross. He suffered and died. He paid the sin debt for the human family. He sacrificed himself. He presented himself. Now, are you willing to present yourself? Are you willing to do for him what he did for you? It's not an emotional decision. It's a very settled decision that you have to make in your mind. Are you willing to give up your rights to yourself? We vigorously, jealously guard our rights to our own minds. Say, I'll give you a lot of things, but not my mind. Say, I won't let you control my mind. I won't let you control what I think. God says I have to have that too. You want to follow me? I have to have your mind too. And that was a challenge that the Roman Christians had to face. That's the challenge that you and I have to face. The laws of hermeneutics say that the objective is to try to understand what the writer was trying to say to the person at the time. And then to try to understand how that can be applied to subsequent generations. So Paul, speaking to the Jews 2,000 years ago, but the question is, what does that mean now to you and to me, those of us who seek to be followers of God? Is that still in force? Is that passed on to us? Is that what God is still seeking for us to do today in the world and in the environment in which we live? No greater challenge than many of us imagine. What God is asking us to do in the light of what Jesus has already done for us. Would you give yourself over to Jesus, to God? If you haven't obeyed the gospel, would you turn yourself in? Would you be humble enough to let God tell you how to think, what to want, what to desire, what to hate? Would you let God have that kind of control of your mind? Would you allow your mind to be renovated to that degree and in that fashion? That's what God is calling on. human being to do in order to have a relationship with Him, and to receive all of the blessings of grace made possible through the death, the shed blood, and the resurrection of His Son. Jesus paid the debt, bought your salvation. It only has to be claimed by you. I'm told that there are millions of dollars today unclaimed by people. There are packages unclaimed by people. There are properties unclaimed by people. What a pity to have salvation available to you, and it goes unclaimed because you don't have faith. The Lord calls you to salvation today. He wants you to believe the gospel. That has to do with everything Jesus has done to make salvation possible. He died according to the scriptures, was buried, rose the third day according to the scriptures. Believe that with all of your heart. And then decide to live the life that God wants you to live, to turn from the sinful lifestyle. That's repentance, confess Jesus to be the Son of God. Be buried with Him in baptism for the remission of sins. The Lord will save you. You will come into every spiritual blessing, heavenly places in Christ Jesus. You'll have hope not only in this world, but you'll have hope in the world to come. He stands at the door and He knocks and He says, if you'll open, I'll come in and I'll sup with you. But I will not break the door down. He says, if you'll open, I'll come in and sup with you. You may be a child of God. You haven't fully given yourself over to God. You're sort of dabbling around in Christianity. You haven't really given yourself fully to the Lord. You want to make a new commitment, this is a good time to do so. He waits right now. You need to come. You need to respond. I'm going to ask you to come swiftly and boldly down the aisle right now as we stand and sing the hymn of meditation.
I surrender.